This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. The rush of racing? Nothing beats it. But Chumba Casino comes close. Chumba's got fast spins, fun games, daily bonuses, and all the action you can handle. Now that's a ride. Ready to hit the throttle? Get in the driver's seat and head to ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
This is Rob Gronkowski from Dudes on Dudes. Applebee's just cooked up the ultimate option play with their new Ultimate Trio deal. You can choose from 3 of their delicious appetizers and pair them up with 3 sauces for just $14.99. Craft your perfect trio from over 80,000 different combinations in this flavor-packed plate built for one, or to share if you're generous. You can stick with the classic pairings like boneless wings and buffalo sauce, or you can spice things up and try some unexpected pairings like dipping chicken wonton tacos in our honey Dijon mustard. It's time to head to your neighborhood Applebee's or order online today. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
Country's rising star Bailey Zimmerman just announced his biggest tour yet, the 2026 Different Night Same Rodeo Tour, hitting over 30 cities across the U.S. and Canada. He's coming off a sold-out 2025 run, and now he's back with a new album and a massive arena show. The star's sophomore album, Different Night Same Rodeo, is out now, featuring the #1 hit, Backup Plan, with Luke Combs, and fan favorites like Lost, Holy Smokes, and Holding On. Want more? Fans can upgrade with VIP packages that include premium seats, exclusive merch, and access to Bailey's pre-show soundcheck party. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com.
Vikings face a showdown with the Bengals this Sunday. We've got your shot at tickets all day today. Talkbacks for tickets. Send us your game predictions through the Talkback feature on the iHeartRadio app all day. That's your chance to win tickets to Sunday's game. If you're looking for more details, go to KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
This is the end, my only friend, the end.
What's wrong with us? What's wrong with each and every one of us that we are capable of getting so worked up over I guess you could say, a social media comment that, as it turns out, wasn't even uttered by the individual who was alleged to have said it, that it keeps us up at night. And we must heap all kinds of scorn and anger and resentment and outrage in that individual's direction. I guess I need to narrow it down, don't I? There's endless examples of what I'm talking about. This happens to involve the 49ers tight end George Kittle. Familiar with Kittle?
I do, yeah.
Apparently, earlier this week, a fake quote regarding Charlie Kirk was attributed to him on social media. And as a result, his wife, Claire, blasted a, quote, sick, unquote, world and lamented the fact that Kittle needed to address the situation. Hold that thought for a minute, because that raises an interesting question, too. This is clearly a fake quote, Claire wrote on her Instagram story. How sick is the world that someone actually took the time to write and post this, and about George of all people? What's even more sickening is that George had to address this on social media because of the hate coming in. Leave us alone, and good night. So what's the background to this story? Apparently, the fake quote first surfaced Tuesday night on Facebook via an account called Red and Gold Legacy. The red and gold legacy.
All right.
And the quote attributed falsely, as it turns out, to the tight end read, "Football should be about the game, the competition, and the fans, no politics. Stop bringing up Charlie Kirk because it has nothing to do with what we do on the field." A night later, Kittle posted a screen grab of the quote and told his followers that it was fake. I hope most of you realize that. Also, that above account only posts fake news / reports. Please ignore them. The wild messages I'm receiving from people made me have to address this. Good night. A Meta spokesperson told SF Gate, which through an investigation found dozens of similar fraudulent Facebook accounts leaning hard into inciting anger or division over Kirk's death with fake quotes from NFL stars, according to the outlet, and that the red and gold page had been removed. In another post to her Instagram story, Claire implored readers to do 1 ounce of research before jumping to conclusions. Don't attack people based off the latest headline. People suck. Be better.
Do better, Charlotte.
Basically, it's do better, Charlotte. There's so many questions here, but I think we know the answers to each of them. Let's say, for the sake of discussion, that George Kittle had said what he was alleged to have said. What is in us in 2025 that makes us think we're now obligated, depending often, like I said, whether we're a shark or a jet, to lose our minds? One football player throws out whatever he throws out. Now, in this case, he didn't even throw it out. How have we gotten to this place where this is the recreational sport that we live by? I honestly think we now love this more than we love pro football. And more people participate in it. Or maybe it's not more people, but it's people who do it each and every, not just each and every day, but many times a day. We found one. We sought him out. We got him. We're going to isolate him. We're going to mock him. We're going to ridicule him. And we're going to make him answer for this charge. And that's my other question. Did George Kittle have to respond? What if George Kittle didn't? What if George Kittle said, I'm not playing the game. I'm not even going to correct the record. Say what you think I know or what I believe. Lay it out there. I'm not going to dignify it and give it another life by responding to it. But we're all so addicted to this form of communication, we can't help ourselves. And again, I would say by 2025, last few weeks standards, the quote as alleged is not that incendiary by the standards that have been set by others. So, in effect, my question, I guess, then again is, do we end up playing into it by feeling, I got to respond. I've got to set the record straight.
We do.
I've got to take the pressure off of me. Do you? Do we? And does it matter if you do it? To the people who are going to want to believe what they want to believe, is it matter, or is it going to matter that he has tried to set the record straight? It's such a draining, exhausting game. And I'll go back to, again, it's one guy, whatever he said or didn't say, it's one football player. It's not even one politician. It's not even one political leader. It's just one goofball tight end. Oh, my God. Leave us alone. Probably the worst thing you could say is leave us alone. Because for the trolls out there, they go, now we got her.
Right.
Now we'll find something. Let's do some background on some other things that he might have said or she might have said.
Yep,
right?
exactly right. Then the goalposts get moved and they start hammering him for something else.
It's like, it's crack cocaine-like.
Yes.
That's what it is. And I don't know what the way out of it is, but I just want, I mean, do we ever stop to think about that? Again, in this case, not even an elected official. Just because it could have been amused by him. And let's say you disagree with it. Okay. Or you think, well, I think that's a little callous. Or no, I actually think, is he consistent on that issue? Whatever. Would you be moved enough to turn it into a thing where then other family members, his wife, feel like they've got to go to DEFCON 1 to melt down about it, explain about it, and for him to finally say, well, I better set the record straight here. You shouldn't have to set the record straight to these clowns, but I worry that we end up, in our effort to, like I said, set the record straight, we end up giving them even more oxygen, and then they just keep going on and on forever.
Yeah, in terms of setting the record straight, wouldn't you think, though, that if he didn't, at the next availability, a reporter would go up and say, hey, it sounds like you had a message that you wanted to get out on social media or whatever. Like, I get why he would say it. Now, you can decide how forceful you want to be or whatever. You could just say, this is fake, this isn't me, and move on. That's where I think he's in a tough spot because he's probably going to get asked about it, don't you think?
It's a fair point, and there's part of me that says, is that even... I think in our business, some of this is we have to decide whether that's even journalism. Are you really scratching a legitimate journalistic itch asking him that question?
No,
because I would say, but I think that's part of where the jackals are playing along to this. Well, we better set the record straight on it. And I'll say again, set the record straight in one way. Maybe that is his opinion. Do we really have to resolve whether it's his opinion or not? Is it that incendiary of an opinion in the first place to where it rises to the level where I better check? That's what I'm beginning to question. I'm beginning to question the notion that there's anything journalistic about. In other words, I think the trap is, well, if I don't ask it, I'm going to get in trouble with my editor because other reporter is going to ask it. And I think at some point what we got to do is say, I'm not asking that question because I don't think it's pertinent or relevant, and I don't care. Other people want to circulate in those areas and gravitate towards that sort of controversy. God bless them. I don't feel obligated to set the record straight on it for his sake. I don't know. But yes, you're 100% right. He's going to be, somebody's going to say, well, I got to do my job.
Right. I
have to ask him about it. I'm questioning whether that is any longer doing a job because some website no one ever heard of,
right,
or Insta, whatever it was, printed something that it was attributed to him, whatever the case may be. I mean, how many people are there in this country now? Is it 350 million?
Around there,
whatever
sure.
it is. I mean, there's 350 million opinions. We have to make sure on all of them if the person has any profile at all. I don't know. Let's pause here. A couple texts on the controversy. Ben Goessling with the very latest in the Vikings' considerable injury report. And will this be the week we see Christian Darrisaw starting at left tackle? It would be helpful given who the Bengals have at right defensive end. We'll find out in about 15 minutes.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Step into the magic. The Minnesota Renaissance Festival runs weekends right now through September 28th. You can get your tickets at renaissancefest.com and enter for your shot at a pair of tickets, winning them at our contest page, KFAN.com, keyword contest.
Coming up in about 10 minutes or so, we'll get the latest Vikings injury information, his preview of the Vikings noon game. It's our first noon start, right, of the season?
It sure is.
Against the Cincinnati Bengals. The doubleheader game, I believe, is Dallas at Chicago. And it's Speaking of injury reports, I think the Bears have a minimum of 5 defensive starters out. Dallas might score 100 points. With all the Caleb Williams talk, the thing that's killing the Bears more than anything so far is their defense has been like world-class atrocious. So we'll
Dak's
see how
playing pretty well, too.
He's not playing badly.
Dak
Now, again, Dallas, made Russell Wilson look like he's in his prime, so maybe Caleb can get, maybe it'll be like an 84-82 kind of a game. But I'm guessing the Bears will give up more points than the Dallas Cowboys defense. That's just my view. A couple people, this is sort of the predictable water cooler comeback. Well, if you guys wouldn't talk about it, then you're just adding to it. We're not talking about, here's the distinction that's fairly important. For if we don't have general discussions about this, maybe there's not even any hope for trying to get past it. But we're not examining or talking about the comment himself itself that Kittle made. That's the distinction. We're talking about the blowback and the need then for the Kittle family to say, we got to get in on this. I'm not attempting to evaluate or measure the appropriateness of the comment. But you should be able to ask out loud also, what is it that's in us that prompts the level of outrage that this apparently prompted? Or, will we find out that actually there wasn't as much as you think and Kittle and his wife overreacted? I don't know. Maybe they have been so conditioned to the fact that we better clear the air on this because otherwise we're going to have people constantly asking us about it. That has nothing to do with whether we're talking about the concept, whether that adds fuel to it. If we were attempting to, again, evaluate the appropriateness of what he said, I might get that, but we're not. We're trying to talk about the blowback and where it goes from here. A couple people are texting saying that there's a bunch of fake tweets like this involving a bunch of players, including a couple from the Vikings as well.
Like along the lines of Justin Jefferson announcing a donation to Charlie Kirk's family.
Right.
And that's part of the problem now, too, is, and we've talked about this a million times, just fake stuff. Fake stuff that doesn't exist. And how many times, what even was it? It might have even been Charlie Kirk. As we're going through that day, there's 50 different reports coming through in every 10 seconds. And you're trying to figure out who's real, who's not, right? Because there's so many people because of how you can monetize it because you get engagement and you get people crazy. So all these fake accounts get retweeted 500 times and I don't know, they make $100.
And there's the added, the external influence from, Russia bots, Chinese bots, etc. They're all part of the deal.
So you just have no idea what's right, what's true, what's not. And we're all just scrolling.
Yeah, it is. What happened that day? Oh, well, let me give you another example of something that I, for the life of me, don't think I don't need the scorecard on this, but there are a lot of people in media who think we do. The scorecard was at how many NFL stadiums before the game was there a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk?
Mm-hmm.
See, I put this under the classification of if you want to have a moment of silence for him, I'm fine with it. If you don't want to name him in a moment of silence, I'll just shrug my shoulders, and I that's the part that I think gets lost a little bit is the possibility that what does that mean you didn't, or what does that mean you did?
And you did a moment of silence, but you didn't say Charlie Kirk. You said recent events.
Correct.
So what does that mean?
Correct.
It
can mean whatever you want it to mean. But what I'm saying is, I'm willing to accept the differences. If different ownership groups, for different reasons, some said we're going to name him, and others said no. I might have my own opinion about what I would do, but I don't think there's only one way you can handle this. This is the only way, and if you don't handle it, it's a litmus test. We are killing ourselves daily with litmus tests. It's what we do, right? I mean, did he call this out? I looked it up. He didn't call that out, but he certainly called this out. And you go, okay, let's say he did. Then where are we? What should he lose his job? Should he? It's the spectator sport game that we now play. It is exhausting, and again, I'm I'm like, okay, I have no problem if you want to have a moment of silence for him, but and if you don't, and you intend that as a political statement, I'd say, okay, I'm not going to lose my mind over it one way or the other.
But we have, and this is what the governor of Utah has said recently, and I think it's one of the smartest things I've heard and scariest, because I don't know how we get out of it. The conflict entrepreneurs, as he called them, basically people that are scorekeeping.
Yes, that's right.
And what their whole bit is to stir up one side, both sides, all the sides, as much as they can, because they can make money on it. So you do have people that are keeping score, and someone who might otherwise not have even cared or known all of a sudden sees it, and now they're mad, or they're not mad, or they're mad at this person but not that person, and it just never ends. And exhausting is the word for it.
And by the way, I would say if you're a Vikings fan and you are bothered by the decision locally to not name Charlie Kirk, you have a right to that. I'm not even taking away your right to say, well, I think they should have been more specific and named him. I respect that right. If it affects you enough to where you say, well, I'm not going to maybe pay close attention to the team. I wouldn't think that would be a litmus test, but if it is for you, I'm not here to tell you it shouldn't be. I just don't think it's got to necessarily be the cause of the century. Vikings report coming up
right now.
We'll do that, and then we'll chat with Ben Goessling, very latest on several Vikings injuries. Stay tuned.
Time now for the Vikings Report on The Fan, presented by Miller Lite. Vikings wide receiver Adam Thielen joins Dan Barrero next.
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. The rush of racing? Nothing beats it. But Chumba Casino comes close. Chumba's got fast spins, fun games, daily bonuses, and all the action you can handle. Now that's a ride. Ready to hit the throttle? Get in the driver's seat and head to ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
The Fan.
Week 3 of the Vikings kicks off this Sunday. Cincinnati Bengals are coming to town. Pregame starts at 10. You can catch every touchdown, every sack, every game-changing play right here on the audio home for Vikings football, KFAN, and on the go with the free and easy-to-use iHeartRadio app.
Ben Goessling back with us, thanks to our good friends at Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. If you have questions for Ben, 64686 is the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. The injury report, how would you describe it?
It is voluminous. I guess that would be the way I would start. A lot of names on it, but I think, again, the upshot of it is going to be the offensive line is going to look quite a bit different than the Vikings would want on Sunday. Ryan Kelly, of course, is out with the concussion. Christian Darrisaw is questionable, but talking to him in the locker room today, he said it's 50-50, but also said if I was ready, I'd be out there on Sunday. It sounded like he still has some things he wants to see get better before he goes out there. It seems like he's still kind of opting for the cautious approach. We'll see if that changes between now and Sunday, but the way he talked today, I wouldn't expect to see him for the game on Sunday either. And then Harrison Smith is questionable. I think there's a better chance of that one, and they should get Andrew Van Ginkel back. He's questionable as well, but full participation today would make it seem like he's got a good chance to go.
Problematic, given, of course, Trey Hendrickson is an extremely skilled pressure guy and pass rusher at right end. So the head coach, is he usually this coy about who he's going to use with school out and if Darrisaw doesn't go? Is this part of the bit, or were you surprised that he wouldn't give you any more specific information on who might, in that eventuality, start at left tackle?
I think he's being coy about it because it's probably something that people haven't seen yet. If I had to guess, and I don't know this for sure, but just kind of putting pieces together, I would not be shocked if it's Blake Brandel at left tackle, just to have somebody that has a little more experience. Right. Because we were talking about this among ourselves today, where it's like, if you were to put Walter Rouse out there, then you've got a guy that's basically in his first NFL start on 2 of the 3 spots where you're in new positions, where it's a left tackle that's in his first start, the center that's in his first start, and then in between those two guys is a rookie. So Blake Brandel at least would give them a little more experience in the league. He's played a number of different positions. I think he started a playoff game at tackle against the Giants, if I remember correctly. It would have been on the other side, but a guy that has been around long enough that I wouldn't be shocked if they did that. I don't know that for sure, but just kind of putting pieces together, I wonder if that's what they'll end up doing, and that's maybe why the head coach didn't want to tip his hand too much on plans for Sunday, at least at this point.
Is it at all possible that with Wentz starting on Sunday at noon, and with Aaron Jones unavailable, that the head coach just says, bleep it? I got an experienced guy. He hasn't been obviously an accomplished starter for a while, but he's played the position. He can wing the ball a little bit. We might revert a little bit to chucking it around just to see how the hell that goes. Is that possible, or do you think he's even more likely to play it closer to the vest than he even was attempting to with J.J. McCarthy?
I think it's possible they'll open things up a little bit more. I think the quick game stuff may be a bigger component of it, just because, and Wes Phillips talked about this on Tuesday, that timing is actually a little more important with quick game than people might assume it to be, and that can be a little easier to pull off with a quarterback that maybe is a little more experienced, maybe a little better at hitting all of the timing stuff. But Wentz has had a bit of gunslinger in him in the past, and I would not be surprised if they take some shots, because this is, Trey Hendrickson I think he's got 15 pressures for the year already. So he is a formidable challenge on the left side, and I would expect they'll probably put Josh Oliver over there a fair amount to help with Trey Hendrickson, especially if it's not Christian Darrisaw. But if you can protect, I think this is a secondary you can take some shots against. And I would not be surprised if they tried to get Justin Jefferson going a little bit more downfield, tried some big plays from an offense that hasn't had many of them, other than those couple of shots to set up field goals at the end of the first half of both these games. They have not gotten the ball downfield very much, and that's certainly something we know Kevin O'Connell likes to do. So I would not be surprised if they take the governor off a little bit more, so to speak, and see what they can do, if in fact they can protect Carson Wentz effectively enough to give him chances to do that.
And part of it has to be, sooner or later, you want to try to unleash Jefferson, right? Give him more opportunities to have the kind of game where he's, catching 8 balls for 142 yards, something like that.
Yeah, no doubt. Excuse me, no doubt. I think a lot of this offense is predicated on Justin Jefferson.
Yep.
He's the number one read a lot of the times. He draws a lot of coverage towards him, and you see other people get opened up as a result of that. But he's certainly still the best, or among the very best NFL receivers out there. And you'll see another one on the other side on Sunday with Jamar Chase. But Jefferson's going to be fired up for this one, wanting to kind of get the better of his LSU teammate, his running mate with that team with Joe Burrow that won the national title. And I think they want to get him going because he's elite. There's no doubt about it. And they just haven't been able to get that to happen through 2 games, other than the throw at the end of the first half. But even that, you saw it on the route. You saw it on the play he makes where he can run after the catch. They're never better than when they have the ball in his hands. And I think they will try to find ways to make that happen. You have to deal with the coverages. You have to find ways to get him the ball, but they want that to happen more than it has. And I certainly think they need to get him going, and they'd be better off if they did.
Ben Goessling covers the Vikings for the Star Tribune and joins us weekly as well to talk Purple and National Football League issues. Guardsy and I have done a lot of examining in the last couple of weeks, and again today, both on TV and radio, of the Vikings 2025 schedule. And there's a part of me, and I think a part of him too, that looks at what lies ahead, at least in theory, and says, no matter who you have at quarterback right now, you're going to have to get some wins under your belt. Cincy this week, Pittsburgh in Dublin the next week, Cleveland after that, because after that bye week, you know the schedule. It's Philly, it's the Chargers, it's the Lions, it's the Ravens, it's, after a week against the Bears, Green Bay on the road, Seattle on the road, Washington at home, at Dallas. That's a pretty meaty schedule where you're not going to have much margin for error if you have not piled up some victories in the seemingly softer part of the early schedule.
No doubt. I think the 4 teams they play after the bye combined won 52 games last year. And that, again, includes the Thursday night on West Coast draw that I'm sure they're thrilled to see again.
Right.
After it's the same thing as last year where they played the Lions at home and then they got the Rams. It's a tough game, and then you go right into that West Coast trip against a good team. That'll be, if it's J.J. McCarthy by that point, that's an emotional one for him against Jim Harbaugh. And then it's the Lions and then the Ravens. And I've kind of been thinking about those 4, but you mentioned all the ones after that with the Bears kind of as the maybe a little bit of a breather. But yes, given what the Packers have looked like, the trip to Seattle is not one that's ever easy. And then you get the Commanders in there in December. It is an incredibly difficult run of games that's coming up here. And they have to be able to stack some wins here if they want to be able to go be in the playoff mix, because I don't know that you can look at that stretch that's coming up after the bye, especially given the games in there that are on the road, the Chargers' quick turn to get out there on a Thursday night, and then that game in Detroit where they've had a lot of trouble winning lately. I don't know that you can look at that and say that's going to be an easy stretch to just stack up some wins. And, they'll say we look at these things one at a time, but I'm sure they've spent time looking at all of these things and knowing what a test this is going to be. Yes, it is. This is a critical stretch because it's the Bengals at home and then effectively 2 neutral site games. Right. So it's as favorable a stretch as they're going to see for a long time, and they need to make most of it if they want to take this thing to the playoffs.
I want to take a one, maybe not last look, but another look back on the home opener, specifically to get from you what you have gleaned from inside the building about what took place offensively in that game. It's a cliche now, but the old Mike Tyson quote, everybody's got a plan until they get hit in the mouth. And it looked to me like the quarterback and the head coach, frankly, as the architect of this offense, both got hit in the mouth and got staggered a little bit. And the pressure's off to a certain extent because now he's hurt and so he's out. But it's still something that sooner or later is going to have to be examined and dealt with. And I'm curious to know how that's gotten finessed, if it's possible that even inside the building, they were a bit surprised at how overmatched everything looked about that offense in week 2.
Yeah, I think the thing that stuck out to me after the game and really into Monday as well was the degree to which the offensive line has not looked better. And there's injuries that are part of that, certainly, without Christian Darrisaw there and Ryan Kelly leaving the game in the middle of it. But you've had things with Brian O'Neill and Will Fries. I think some of that is the two getting used to playing together, but they have not looked completely in sync all the time. You've had some busts, I think, up front, and that was the big priority. I mean, that was the thing that Kevin O'Connell after the playoff game said they need to improve. It was as direct as he typically gets at a podium after a game, saying we need to improve the interior of the offensive line. And the fact that there's been as much pressure as there's been with a veteran group, I think is something that's taken them aback and probably bothered them quite a bit. I mean, J.J. McCarthy's had a big play in this as well. I think that, whether it's getting the ball out on time or I think even at times bailing and looking to run probably a tick or two earlier than he needed to do it. I think there's been times where he's had pockets, and if you let something come open downfield a split second longer, you may have a chance for a big play. But a lot of this has been, you've heard this refrain about all 11, and what I think Kevin O'Connell means by that is, hey, veterans that we've paid big money to, part of the way we constructed this thing was that a lot of the things around J.J. McCarthy would take care of themselves. And I think you're not at a point yet where you have a quarterback that can make up for those things. It's just not going to be something a 22-year-old with this little bit of experience can do pretty consistently at this point in his career. So you need everybody else to hold up their end of the bargain. And I don't think they feel like that's happened yet. And that, I think, is probably the most concerning part of it for them just that the more known commodities have not done the job the way they thought they would.
If you go back to, it was during preseason. In fact, I think the story broke on a Sunday when we were broadcasting from the fair that the Vikings I think they'd brought in Wentz the day before to work him out, and then I think the announcement was that Sunday that they had signed him. And it's interesting looking back on it because at the time it's like, that's a cute little story, and backup, can be important, but you always say that automatically, just assuming that, well, there's not going to really be an injury. It's probably going to be irrelevant, but maybe they've enhanced their possibility of, having a legitimate backup quarterback. I'm curious to know what you remember, what basically kind of what you've heard about the Wentz saga. We've all chronicled it. We all have seen how he has become basically the definition, one could say, of a journeyman. But do we have clues on exactly how Wentz ended up in the position he's in and how equipped he might be to be revitalized here the way, a few other quarterbacks who were thought of as either backup types or just, failed starters have before?
Yeah, I mean, they've had a run of these quarterbacks. It is a weird part of Vikings history that so many quarterbacks who have either been cast-offs somewhere else or kind of just needed a reboot, whatever it was, have come in here and had success throughout their careers. I mean, you can take that from Sam Darnold all the way back to the 90s when Denny had a guy every year seemingly that would do it, whether it's Cunningham, Jeff George, Brad Johnson, I guess was their draft pick, but Jim McMahon, Warren Moon, on and on and on. There's a lot of that in Vikings history, and whether Wentz can be the next one, we'll see. But they've certainly been, I think, excited about the fact that he comes in with a little more experience. I think that makes everything run a little bit faster. And we've seen him. I mean, the year that the Eagles won the Super Bowl at US Bank Stadium, they were in position to do it because Wentz was basically playing at an MVP level most of that season. I think from there to now, you have a lot of years. There was a lot of talk in Philly about, could he take hard coaching and how flexible would he be with play menus, and I think there were some of those things in Indianapolis as well. And you see a guy that started for 6 teams in the last 6 years. That doesn't happen if you are meshing with everybody perfectly in the places that you've been. So there has been a little bit of a pretty big change in terms of the contour of his career. And I think coming in at this point, this is very much kind of the opportunity that you saw for Sam Darnold or Daniel Jones, where they need a reboot. They need a chance to kind of say, this is what I've done the last few years is not who I am, and this is as good a chance as he's going to get. I'm very curious to see how this goes if he's in this position for more than a week, because that's really where you start to get to how well does this partnership function over a number of weeks and a number of games, and how that relationship between him and Kevin O'Connell comes together. I'm very curious to see how that plays out. I think he has a chance to step in there and play well. I think there's some things that they can do maybe a little bit more efficiently, but the overall process of him being the guy, that he hasn't had to do that for a number of years. And if he had to do that for, say, 3 weeks or a month, how is he going to handle that? I'm very interested to see how that goes. Yeah, so on the one hand, it's a great opportunity, although, as you say, notwithstanding the line issues that still might end up biting them on Sunday, but there is some responsibility here now for the first time in a position where it's like, well, I guess he's actually been on other good teams, but with an opportunity to actually be the starter, right, in a way that he hasn't been more recently. And we all kind of wonder, all right, well, what do you have left in you? On the other hand, as you say, these things, they have a tendency to take on a life of their own. Whatever the plan is doesn't matter. If he plays well and sustains it for a while, then, it's difficult for me to believe that you're going to be rushing to get him out of there. I mean, he may make it easy by struggling. But on the other hand, I think even if you love JJ and still think he's the long-term guy, results matter, man. This is a results-driven league, is it not? And if he comes in and puts together, let's say, the next 2 weeks, they win both games, and you could say, well, part of that might be the schedule, but
They had a favorable schedule against Atlanta, did nothing with it. If he plays well the next couple weeks, then I think it's got to get played out. It's not even a matter of trying to fashion a quarterback controversy. It's results, right? That's basically what ends up driving a lot of these decisions, short term at least.
Yeah, it is. And I think the other thing in the particular case of their schedule coming up that makes it tricky with McCarthy is, are you going to continue the rehab with the idea that he's going to step back in and start when your next 2 games are international? I think that just makes everything a little more difficult. You don't have your home facilities. You don't have all the rehab stuff in the same way that you would want it at the TCO Performance Center. I think it makes it a little more difficult when you're going across the globe to go through your typical routine, which includes rehab for players. So if that is still a question for him as we head into next week, I think that has to be a factor in whatever decision they make as well. But yes, I think if Carson Wentz gets on a roll, I can't imagine they're going to be in a hurry to get McCarthy back in there. They need to know, and that's the other tension here, is they need to know what they have in J.J. McCarthy probably by the end of this year, but that doesn't have to mean that you go right back to him and force it where it doesn't need to happen. Sometimes these things take care of themselves, whether it's an injury or, Wentz that gets on a heater and that kind of ends and you go back to McCarthy at that point. You could play it a number of different ways, but I think if Wentz gives them a little bit of the spark that they need, it would be hard to imagine, especially given the particular idiosyncrasies of the schedule right now, that they would say, let's just try to go put JJ back in there without any more chance to get that thing settled down and get him probably feeling a little bit better about his role in the offense as well.
I guess I don't remember. Did we get 2 good games, serviceable games out of Pasternaut, or was it 3? I can't remember the number before it kind of reality set in. But if you can get
1.5.
1.5. I mean, if you can get 1.5 out of him, I got to believe there's a chance you could get 1.5 or even 2 out of Wentz, even if he's a flawed quarterback at this point, a guy who's not really, as we said, had any responsibility. I don't think it's beyond, especially when you look at the schedule, I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility.
No, I don't either. I think if you can protect him, I mean, the run of pass rushers coming up from Hendrickson to TJ Watt to Myles Garrett is formidable, but maybe you get Darisaw back in Ireland when they're back on grass. Right. Maybe that changes things a little bit there. But if you can protect Wentz, I think there is an opportunity, given the teams that they play and the defenses that they play, that they could get something going. They need something to get this offense into a rhythm. I mean, the fact that they still haven't had a game with 50 offensive plays just doesn't work. You're not going to win consistently in this league. So if he gives them that spark, I think it would be badly needed, and I have a hard time seeing they would, take the job away from him if they get that, especially if they get it in a win.
I bet you're excited to have an old traditional noon start, right? There's nothing wrong with an old meat and potatoes noon start, right, rather than prime time?
If I had my way, I would take them all at noon.
Yeah.
The primetime games are fun, but when you start with 2 prime times, including one on the road, and then you get the time zone change, that it'll be like a 2:30 local start in Ireland.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been a little shy on the noon games here for a while. So the fact that we get one and it's just nice and straightforward and easy, and you go to the stadium early and you get home before it's dark, I do not mind that one bit.
Appreciate you. We'll chat next week.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Dan.
Ben Goessling, Star Tribune. Covers the National Football League for my former newspaper, StarTribune.com as well. Standard Heating and Air Conditioning, the fine sponsor of the Goessling bit, both on this show and on the Paul Allen Project as well. LaVelle is scheduled for about 30 minutes and change from now. Top 5 at 5 will include what?
We'll recap for those that have missed it. The lengthy Vikings injury report. We've got a WNBA MVP update to get to, and maybe some leftovers from last night's Thursday night game.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1, go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2, collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3, play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games, all for free?
Step 4, unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
This is Rob Gronkowski from Dudes on Dudes. Applebee's just cooked up the ultimate option play with their new Ultimate Trio deal. You can choose from 3 of their delicious appetizers and pair them up with 3 sauces for just $14.99. Craft your perfect trio from over 80,000 different combinations in this flavor-packed plate built for one, or to share if you're generous. You can stick with the classic pairings like boneless wings and buffalo sauce, or you can spice things up and try some unexpected pairings like dipping chicken wonton tacos in our honey Dijon mustard. It's time to head to your neighborhood Applebee's or order online today. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.